Hello and welcome to the news at 5. I'm Dominic Iriwu and these are the stories and reports we're tracking at the moment. We begin in Rivers State where today people in the state turned out in large numbers from the 23 local government areas to welcome Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy as they expected to resume at the government house. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama reports that the crowd, estimated at over 4,000, grew steadily from as early as 7 a.m., stretching from the government house to Abunema Wharf Junction along Aba Road, leading to a total standstill in vehicular movement.
It's been a long wait for Rivers people who trooped out in their numbers to the government house, Port Harcourt. From 7 a.m. this morning, they've been crowded here, waiting for their governor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, and his deputy, who the president has lifted their suspension to resume work today. But as at the time of filing this report, the governor is yet to resume.
Those who spoke to Channels Television expressed their excitement and expectations about the governor's return. While a few began dispersing at the time of filing this report, many others insisted they would remain until the governor's arrival.
His character in the River State, he rebuked River State when he came in. We are all annoyed when they suspended him because we are not happy. Since we heard that he's back, that's why we are here today, to welcome him.
He's a good man. He was suspended for about 6 months, and the state has not been the same since he's not there. But now that he's back, we are happy that he's finally back, and the state will not remain the same again. So we are happy that he's back. We are here to welcome him, to show him our love and support.
By his nature, he's a very peaceful person. So he's never been a violent person. He's somebody we know right from his youthful age.
All of us are waiting. As you can see the crowd, since 7 o'clock, we have been waiting for him.
The Rivers State House of Assembly is calling on Governor Siminalayi Fubara to present an appropriation bill to them for the remainder of 2025. This was part of the resolutions during today's plenary session, the first after the lifting of the state of emergency declared in the state by the president. The lawmakers also called on Governor Fubara to send a list of commissioner designates for screening and confirmation.
The Rivers State House of Assembly will continue to abide by the terms of the peace pact between us, the governor, and all stakeholders for the interest of this state and of course for the good governance of their states. Thirdly, the House resolved that we should call on the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, GSSRS, to forward the list of his nominees for appointment as commissioners into the Rivers State Executive Council, so that the wheel of governance in Rivers State can begin to move in the direction it should move, knowing fully well that it is important that there should be an Executive Council that has to be constituted by men and women of integrity, people that were screened by the Rivers House Assembly in line with the Constitution, people who are willing to assist the governor to make Rivers State what it should be. The House also resolved that we should call on the governor to commence the process of forwarding an appropriation bill to the Rivers House Assembly to cut.
The 6-month emergency administration in Rivers State came to an end at midnight on Wednesday, September 17th, as the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas retired, performed his final official duty before bowing out of office. Earlier in the evening, Admiral Ibas presided over the swearing-in of Dr. Mrs. Inyingini Brown as the substantive head of service of Rivers State. She had been serving in an acting capacity since the resignation of her predecessor, Dr. George Nweke. Charging her with the responsibility of upholding the values of the civil service, the sole administrator urged Mrs. Brown to demonstrate the same loyalty to Governor Siminalayi Fubara as she did during the interim administration.
Statutory boards and commissions have been reconstituted. The state budget has been passed and lawful framework for governance has been restored. Behind each of these milestones is you, all seated here, the engine of government, often unseen, but always essential. You are the custodians of the public service, the guardians of continuity, and the conscience of government. Administrations may change, but the civil service, led by you, permanent secretaries, ensuring that institutions endure beyond individuals and administrations. As His Excellency Governor Siminalayi Fubara resumes office, I charge you to offer him the same loyalty, discipline, and dedication that you extended to me. The stability and growth of Rivers State will depend greatly on the professionalism with which you implement government policies, uphold due process, and insulate the service from partisan rancor.
In his farewell message marking the end of his tenure this morning, the former sole administrator highlighted the restoration of peace and the rebuilding of public trust in government as the major achievements of his administration.
Rivers State will continue to require vigilance, sacrifice, and leadership anchored on one enduring truth, that government exists to protect the people and to promote their welfare and well-being. One of the enduring lessons of this season is that the exercise of power without restraint can cripple institutions, and rivalry without dialogue clearly endangers democracy. Let this chapter therefore stand as a permanent reminder that the health of our polity depends not on who wins or loses, but on how political actors manage their differences and on the strength of the institutions we preserve and the unity we nurture.
Good news for residents of Rivers State who have patiently awaited for the end of the 6-month state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu. But for the senior advocate of Nigeria, Oluwadegboruwa, it is not to be celebrated as it infringed on the democratic rights of the people of the state. Speaking on our breakfast program, Mr. Adegboruwa has further called for the sole administrator to give an account of how the state resources were spent during his tenure. He further added that Governor Fubara should tolerate and work with the State Assembly members, and they should in turn understand the limits of their powers as a legislative arm of government.
This is an unfortunate development. I see it as an aberration, something that ought not to happen at all, given our democratic experience. And that's why I thought that there ought not to be any form of celebration, as it were. There's a reason for a single individual, such as the president, with all due respect, to interfere with that mandate. The circumstances should be spelled out within the Constitution. Everybody is expecting the judiciary to give a definitive pronouncement that will guide people so that nobody will have excuse to take the laws into his hands or act beyond the powers granted by the Constitution. Nigerians are entitled to know from the president who was exercising oversight responsibilities over the sole administrator, from the National Assembly, in terms of accountability and transparency, how much was received during this period and what was it used for? What were the powers and the nature of those powers exercised by the sole administrator? Coming back to power now, the governor should realize the need for tolerance. As an executive leader in a state, you can't walk alone. I mean, presenting budget to 3 people. The House of Assembly should understand the nature and limit of their powers. You are legislators. You cannot take over the role of the executive.
The Rivers Elders and Leaders Forum has welcomed the lifting of the state of emergency in River State, viewing it as a chance for peace, forgiveness, and renewed unity. In a statement signed by the forum's acting chairman, Dr. Gabriel Toby, the elders thanked President Bola Tinubu for restoring full democratic governance to the state. The group stated that this is a moment for peace, sober reflection, forgiveness, rededication, and unity. They added that it is an opportunity to heal wounds, restore trust, and refocus energies towards the progress of the state and the well-being of the people. The forum also urged Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Deputy Governor Professor Ngozi Odu, Speaker Martin Zamewele, members of the River State House of Assembly, and all other stakeholders to set aside political bitterness and embrace reconciliation. Now, 21 days after its last meeting, the National Economic Council is again meeting at the Presidential Villa Abuja. Chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, the 152nd meeting of the NEC has in attendance the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum and Governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, as well as some governors and deputy governors from across the country. During its last meeting, the council said Nigeria recorded a reduction in the new variant type 2 polio virus from 78 cases in 2024 to 42 cases as of August 2025. The governor of Gombe State and chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum, Ino Ayaya, who briefed State House correspondents shortly after the meeting, however, said Sokoto State is still at risk. However, Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State, who was reinstated by President Bola Tinubu hours before the meeting after a 6-month suspension from office, was absent from the meeting as of the time of commencement. Here in Lagos, the state government has warned residents and technicians against using ozone-depleting gases in refrigerators and other cooling equipment. The general manager of the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, made this known during a program to mark this year's World Ozone Day. He urged certified technicians to make use of correct and non-depleting gases to prevent further depletion of the ozone layer.
Officials of the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency set out to create awareness on World Ozone Day and steps that must be taken to protect the environment. They move around the seat of power, Lausa Ikeja, with different descriptions on their placards, and then converge on Adeyemi Bero Auditorium for the 2025 World Ozone Day to deliberate on this year's theme, From Science to Global Action.
The fact that we have a room filled with NARA professionals is a testament to our drive to move from science to global action. Speaking science, talking about climate change and environmental protection and sustainability, ozone layer protection is our work. The action really is going to be carried out by the NARA professionals here in the room.
Nigerian Association of Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Practitioners and other key stakeholders highlight the importance of sustainable practices to drive environmental solutions.
Moving from scientific discovery to global action serves as a powerful reminder of what we can achieve when we work together. It shows that our collective efforts, driven by scientific understanding and public awareness, can create profound positive change for our environment.
NESRIA remains committed to working closely with Lagos State and other key stakeholders in ensuring that the Nigerian environment not only sustains but also strengthens its contribution to the global agenda of protecting the ozone layer and building resilience against climate change.
The Lagos State government, as well as the Federal Controller of the Environment and Southwest Director, stated that ozone layer depletion is a global environmental problem and requires a global responsibility to fix it.
The journey from science to global action is a continuous one. For us to achieve more, we need to sustain awareness among the public and the industrial stakeholder. We also need to strengthen enforcement of environmental regulation.
The target of the Montreal is that we should recover the ozone layer back to what it was in 1980. So to do that, there is still need for the academics to do more research, encourage our students to focus on this human impactful area that becomes necessary.
Protecting the environment from ozone-depleting substances is a major task for everyone, and the World Ozone Day serves as a call to action for all stakeholders to protect the planet and support Lagos State government's efforts towards achieving a greener and healthier future.
You're watching the news at 5 live on Channels Television. Still ahead, Northeast stakeholders hold a meeting on TETFund. That and more when we return.
We live in an era of massive innovation, true ideas that impact every industry and society, cutting-edge technology that gives you a glimpse of the future, intuitive minds that meet the demand of a revolution of talent. The future of enterprise lies in the digital world. It's full of questions and yet solutions. Join us on Tech Trends as we bring you the finest blend of technology and the latest happenings in the tech space. Tech Trends, the tech edge you need.
Welcome back. The significance of primary healthcare centers in fostering health equity and enhancing health outcomes cannot be overstated, especially in hard-to-reach communities as well as low and middle-income areas. This was formed part of discussions at the unveiling of a 20-bed Renewed Hope Primary Healthcare Center in Isheri Olofin. Senior Special Assistant to President Bola Tinubu on Sustainable Development Goals, Adejoke Orelope Adefuluri, underscored the pressing need for primary healthcare services in Nigeria. On her part, wife of the Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, believes the project is a lifeline for the people of Isheri Olofin. In the education sector across the Northeast region are calling on President Bola Tinubu to increase the statutory allocation of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, from 3% to 5%. The resolution was reached at a town hall meeting held in Jalingo, Taraba State's capital, where participants commended the renewed hope agenda of the administration of President Bola Tinubu and its reforms in the education sector.
These are the beneficiaries of the projects of the Tertiary Education Trust TETFund in the Northeast region, including vice chancellors, provosts of colleges of education, lecturers, and students. The meeting is part of efforts to develop a blueprint to strengthen the country's education sector and explore avenues for cooperation between government, institutions, industries, and communities to make meaningful impact. The meeting also highlighted the contributions of the agency to the development of education in the region, as participants called for the statutory allocation of TETFund to be reviewed.
If you look at my recommendation, I said that the act establishing TETFund, they are collecting 2%, they added to 2.5%, now they added to 3%. I am also of the view that they should amend it to make it 5% so that we can have adequate funding of the education tax to our education sector. When you look at before it's coming, that is before 2023, the allocations being given to TETFund to operate was between 100 billion to 300 billion. But when he becomes the president, it has risen to 724 billion. That is almost triple the initial contribution or deductions that have been sent to TETFund.
Without TETFund, all Nigeria tertiary institutions will collapse. If you go to all Nigeria tertiary institutions, the only logo you will see is TETFund. Infrastructure, training, vehicles, everything is TETFund. There's no longer any fund from anywhere apart from TETFund. And that is why we are appealing that TETFund should remain.
However, there were calls for states to reduce their dependence on allocations from TETFund to address the infrastructural deficits of state-owned tertiary institutions.
We're grateful that the TETFund is alive, and it's a challenge for owners of institutions, particularly at the state levels, to also give their own contributions, particularly capital contributions in the development of their own institutions. If you go to some states, institutions, virtually what you see are only TETFund projects.
The resolutions of this meeting are expected to be forwarded to relevant authorities for consideration and implementation.
In the world of business, a total sum of 2.225 trillion naira has been shared to the federal, state, and local government council by the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee as revenue distribution for August. This amount represents an 11.2% or 222.11 billion naira increase when compared with the 2 trillion naira revenue distributed for in July. Key highlights of the allocation indicates that the federal government received 100 billion naira, state governments got 336.45 billion naira, local government councils received 235.51 billion naira, while relevant states were given 183 billion naira as 13% of mineral derivation revenue, according to a statement from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. The total amount shared for August by FAC is the largest single-month allocation on record. Meanwhile, there is no mention of any excess crude accounts added in the FAC distribution for last month. The country's ECA balance stood at over $473,000 as at August last year. The African Development Bank says it has approved a $25 million equity investment in the Currency Exchange Fund to strengthen access to local currency financing across Africa. According to the latest statement posted on its website, the multilateral finance institution explains that it aims to reduce foreign exchange exposure for African borrowers, especially those in fragile states, underserved economies, and high-risk markets where conventional hedging instruments are limited or unavailable. Just last month, the AfDB announced $5.5 billion financing framework to accelerate sustainable growth and infrastructure development across Africa, leveraging the Japan International Cooperation Agency's private sector investment financing as a catalyst. The Rural Electrification Agency, REA, the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria, and Solarge BV of Netherlands have formalized the creation of a special purpose vehicle called Solarge Nigeria Limited. The SPV agreement, which was signed at InfraCorp office in Abuja, is expected to establish and operate a 1 gigawatt solar photovoltaic panel manufacturing facility in the country. A statement from the REA says the company will build and operate a state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic factory, which is expected to reach 50% local content within its first 3 years. According to the REA, this aims to scale clean energy access across public institutions while building robust local content in Nigeria's renewable energy sector. In a bid to curb the rising cases of Ponzi schemes and financial scams in the country, the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers says it will intensify investment education for young Nigerians. The institute made this known in a statement at an event themed Capital Markets in a Digital, Ethical and Sustainable Era, Charting Pathways for Economic Transformation. The CIS also mentioned that it aims to position the capital market as a real credible avenue for funding, investing, and building wealth, citing that too many young Nigerians fall prey to Ponzi schemes and financial scams due to a lack of knowledge. And that's it on Business News and the News at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwu. The World Today is next.